Hey yo, what is poppin'? It's your boy Whiteout, and when you think about history, how far do you think back? Do you think back to the Roman Empire? Do you think back to the Solomon Empire? Do you think back to the pyramids? Do you think back to the Aztecs and the Mayans? Or do you think back to the beginning? The beginning of humanity, maybe even before humanity. Today we are going to be watching what happened before history, human origins. It's time to lock in, and it is time to get 1% smarter. Let's go.
The world we live in feels normal, ordinary. It feels like this is just how humans exist and always existed. But it's not. Never before have we humans lived in a world as sophisticated and engineered to our needs as today, giving us the luxury to forget about ourselves and not worry about survival. Food, shelter, security, all of this is more or less taken for granted. But we're a special few. For more than 99.99% of human history, life was completely different. And there's no such thing as just one human history.
That does make sense. I mean, we are if you think about all of humanity, we are like on the
Our
tip.
story begins 6 million years ago, when the tribe of Hominini split and our relationship with the apes ended. 2.8 million years ago, the genus of Homo, the first humans, emerged. We
I'm
like to
out.
think of ourselves as the only humans, but this is far from the truth. When we, Homo sapiens sapiens, came into existence 200,000 years ago, there were at least 6 other human species around. Cousins
What?
of comparable intelligence and ability, which must have been incredibly scary, kind of like living with aliens. Some of them were very successful. Homo erectus, for example, survived for 2 million years, 10 times longer than modern humans have existed. The last of the other humans disappeared around 10,000 years ago. We don't know what caused them to die out. Modern humans have at least a few percent of Neanderthal and other human DNA, so there was some mixing, but certainly not enough to be a merger between species.
Damn, so what he's trying to say is we made it out the mud, huh? We really coming out here and we really being the ones that to survive. All these other Homo erectus and all this kind of stuff, absolutely not, dude. We're better is what he's saying. I think that's what he's saying. I mean, W us.
We don't know if our cousins went away because they lost the battle over resources or because of a series of minor genocides. Either way, only we remain.
Valid, honestly.
Back to the beginnings of humanity. 2.8 million years ago, early humans used tools, but did not make a lot of progress for nearly 2 million years. Until they learned to control fire. Fire meant cooking, which made food more nutritious, which contributed to the development of our brain. It also produced light and warmth, which made days longer and winters less gruesome. On top of that, it not only scared predators away, it could also be used for hunting. A torched wood or grassland provided small animals, nuts and tubers that were pre-roasted. From 300,000 years ago, most of the different human species lived in small hunter-gatherer societies. They had fire, wood and stone tools, planned for the future, buried their dead, and had cultures of their own. But most importantly, they spoke to each other, probably in a kind of proto-language less complex than ours. If we had a time machine, how far would we be able to go back, steal a few babies, and raise them today without anyone noticing that they're a bit different?
Would we be able to do that if we brought back, let's say, a baby from the earliest point in history? Would we be able to teach them everything to nothing, like from nothing to everything like that? Would they actually be able to comprehend it, right? Because if you think about it, a baby nowadays, right? Is a baby nowadays smarter than a baby back then? Oh, I never even thought about that before. Oh my God. Because you have to teach a baby everything, right? You have to teach a baby how to walk, talk. You have to teach them how to speak, all this kind of stuff. Could something 6 million years ago be integrated into society today?
There is much
Wow.
debate. Anatomically modern humans emerged 200,000 years ago, but probably 70,000 years is as far as we could travel back and still snatch a behaviorally modern human. Before that, the babies would probably lack a few crucial gene mutations necessary to build a brain with modern language and abstract thinking abilities. At
Oh.
some point around 50,000 years ago, there was an explosion in innovation. Tools and weapons became more sophisticated, and culture became more complex, because at this point, humans had a multi-purpose brain and a more advanced language to communicate information with each other effectively and down to the last detail. This allowed much closer cooperation and is what really makes us different from any other creature on Earth. Not our comparatively weak bodies and inferior senses, but the ability to cooperate flexibly in large groups, unlike, for example, rigid beehives or intimate but tiny wolf packs. As our brain evolved, we became able to do something life had been unable to do up to this point. 1. Expand knowledge quickly. 2. Preserve the knowledge gained over generations. 3. Build on past knowledge to gain even deeper insights. This seems daft, but until then, information had to be passed on from generation to generation, mostly through genetics, which is not efficient. Still, for the next 40,000 years, human life remained more or less the same. There was little to build upon. Our ancestors were only one animal among many. Building a skyscraper without knowing what a house is hard. But while it's easy to be arrogant in our attitude to our ancestors, this would be ignorant. Humans 50,000 years ago were survival specialists. They had a detailed mental map of their territory, their senses were fine-tuned to the environment, they knew and memorized a great amount of information about plants and animals. They could make complicated tools that required years of careful training and very fine motor skills.
Imagine bringing somebody, like, let's say at that time in their 20s, right? Because I don't know how long they live for. Let's say in their 20s. Imagine bringing somebody that age to nowadays and making them see everything. Oh my God, would their mind be blown? Their mind would have to be so blown. I mean, there are tribes out there now who have no human contact, right? And there are some that are being integrated with cell phones and TikToks and stuff. I've seen some videos of those, but there are some that have no outside contact whatsoever that we might not even know of. And they're living like this. They're living off the land. They're doing everything by hand. They're making all their clothes. They're making all their tools. They're gathering their food themselves, right? So imagine bringing somebody even just like that to the world itself. It is insane to think about, for them at least, how mind-blowing it would be to see how far technology has like reached in general.
Their bodies compared to our athletes today just because of their daily routines, and they lived a rich social life within their tribe. Survival required so many skills that the average brain volume of early modern humans might even have been bigger than it is today. As a group,
Really?
we know more today, but as individuals, our ancestors were superior to us. But then, around 12,000 years ago in multiple locations, humans developed agriculture. Everything changed very quickly. Before, survival as a hunter and forager required superb physical and mental abilities in all fields from everybody. With the rise of the agricultural age, individuals could increasingly rely on the skills of others for survival. This meant that some of them could specialize. Maybe they worked on better tools. Maybe they took time to breed more resistant crops or better livestock. Maybe they started inventing things. As farming got more and more efficient, what we call civilization began. Agriculture gave us a reliable and predictable food source, which allowed humans to hoard food on a large scale for the first time, which is much easier to do with grains than meat. A food stock required protection, which led to communities living together in tighter spaces. First, early defense structures were built. The need for organization grew. The more organized we got, the faster things became efficient. Villages became cities, cities became kingdoms, kingdoms became empires. Connections between humans exploded, which led to opportunities to exchange knowledge. Progress became exponential. About 500 years ago, the scientific revolution began. Mathematics, physics, astronomy, biology, and chemistry transformed everything we thought we knew.
Imagine being the first person to come up with math. How do you even do that? How do you even just come up with math? How do you come up with science? Like, nowadays, right, we're coming up with quantum and all that kind of stuff. But how do you go from like being a caveman to pretty much like, you start living, yeah, you're going through it, and then like it just turns out, oh, by the way, here's math, here's science, here's all this stuff. Like, how does all this stuff just get come up with? How do people just come up with that stuff back in the day? Were they just so above and beyond even us now? Because you don't see that much stuff being created now, right? You see AI, you see quantum mechanics, quantum physics, right? But they're still like very new. And AI is one of those things where it can kind of be predicted it's going to happen. Quantum mechanics is one of those things where they're still kind of like looking at it 50-50. So imagine being somebody to come up with math that we still use to today, or science that we still use till today. It is insane to think about.
The Industrial Revolution followed soon after, laying the foundation for the modern world. As our overall efficiency grew exponentially, more people could spend their lifetime contributing to the progress of humanity. Revolutions kept happening. The invention of the computer, its evolution into a medium we all use on a daily basis, and the rise of the internet shaped our world. It's hard to grasp how fast all of that happened. It's been about 125,000 generations since the emergence of the first human species.
That's crazy.
About 7,500 generations since the physiologically modern human saw the light of day. 500 generations ago, what we call civilization began. 20 generations ago, we learned how to do science. And the internet became available to most people only 1 generation ago. Today, we live in the most prosperous age humanity has ever experienced. We have transformed this planet, from the composition of its atmosphere to large-scale changes in its landscape, and also in terms of the other animals in existence. We light up the night with artificial stars and put people in a metal box in the sky. Some have even walked on our moon. We put robots on other planets. We've looked deep into the past of the universe with mechanical eyes. Our knowledge and our way of acquiring and storing more of it has exploded. The average high school student today knows more about the universe than a scholar a few centuries ago. Humans dominate this planet, even if our rule is very fragile. We are still not that different from our ancestors 70,000 years ago, but your lifestyle has existed for less than 0.001% of human history. From here on, there's no saying what the future holds for us. We're building a skyscraper, but we're not sure if it's standing on a solid foundation or if we're building it on quicksand. Let's leave it with that for now. The next time you miss your train, your burger is not hot enough, or someone cuts in line, remember how special this made-up human world is. Maybe it's not worth being upset about all those little things. Okay, this was our first take on making a history-related video.
It is really interesting to think about, like, the fact that back then, stuff like this wasn't even comprehensible. And even like 100 years ago, this wasn't even really comprehensible. Nobody would think that we would have computers, right? At least being able, like, potentially have computers, yeah, but more or less being able to have them in your house and have them as like just like an everyday object or like a TV, right? It's so crazy to think that just in the past, let's say 50 to 75 years, technology has blew up so much more than anybody could expect it. And like, there's so much time in the past, so much time that we're not even aware of all of it, right? There's no way that we can probably even fathom stuff that has happened, right? There's stuff that we don't understand, like the pyramids and all that kind of stuff, right? So we don't understand that. Imagine if they came nowadays, they would not understand a single lick of anything that's going on. But not only that, right? Not only that, it's still the factor of like, this is still so early to us. It's so new to us. Think about VR, think about computing, think about AI, think about space, right? We're doing all this stuff and it's excelling at such a rapid pace that in another 100 years, we're not only doubling it now, we're going above and beyond. So in another 100 years, we're not going to be like double as we are now. We're probably going to be so far ahead that it either might destroy us or we might make so many crazy breakthroughs, and it's crazy to think about that. I can't even fathom in 1,000 years, if humans are still around, what will happen, right? Because most likely they'll still be around in 1,000 years, right? So in 1,000 years, if technology is still increasing, we would have to be on other planets by then, right? Wouldn't we? Because it like there's still going to be so much smarter people that are coming, right? There are such smart people now. We'd have to have a rapid decline in everything, just, and then we'd either revert back to normal, or not revert back to normal, but more as revert back to primitive, or we're going to be so advanced that we can't even fathom what's going on. And that's what's crazy to think about. Anyways, though, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys haven't already, make sure you absolutely smash that like button. And honestly, it's pretty cringy if you haven't. I mean, we're learning about the world. We're learning about the universe. We're learning about us. So be a part of that journey by hitting that subscribe button, because if you haven't, what are you doing, bro? Just subscribe, join the Whiteout Army. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.